Part 1. The Abandoned. The explosion threw her 20 feet. Staff Sergeant Maya Chen hit the ground hard, tasting blood and dust. Her helmet cracked against a stone wall, and for 3 seconds the world went silent. No gunfire, no screaming, no helicopter rotors, just ringing, pure, high-pitched ringing. When sound rushed back, it came with chaos. "Extract! Extract! Move to the LZ now!" She tried to stand. Her leg buckled. Pain shot through her ankle like lightning, and she collapsed against the rubble of what used to be a compound wall. Through the smoke and dust, she saw them. Her team, Delta Force operators, shadows moving fast toward the extraction point 200 meters away. "Wait!" she gasped, but her voice was lost in the thunder of another explosion. The enemy was closing in. She could hear them shouting in Pashto, their boots pounding the dirt roads of this remote Afghan valley. The mission had gone wrong. Catastrophically wrong. What was supposed to be a quick intel grab had turned into a firefight, and now they were running. Maya reached for her rifle. Empty. She checked her sidearm. Click, click, empty. Her spare magazines had scattered when the IED detonated beneath the convoy vehicle. She could see one, just one, half buried in debris 15 feet away, but her ankle screamed when she tried to crawl toward it. The radio crackled in her ear. "All teams, this is Hawk 6. We are 30 seconds from departure. I repeat, 30 seconds. If you're not at the LZ, you're staying." "Wait!" Maya keyed her radio. "This is Shadow 4. I'm hit. 200 meters from LZ. I need..." Static. Her radio sparked and died. The explosion must have damaged it. Through the dust, she saw the Black Hawk lifting off. She saw her team climbing aboard, not looking back. They thought she was already on the bird. They thought she'd made it. They didn't know. The helicopter banked hard and disappeared over the mountain ridge. And Staff Sergeant Maya Chen realized, in that terrible moment of clarity, that she was alone in hostile territory with no ammunition, no radio, and a broken ankle. The enemy was 2 minutes away. Part 2. 7 hours earlier. "You're putting her on this mission?" Captain Marcus Wade stood in the briefing room at Forward Operating Base Chapman, his arms crossed, his expression making it clear what he thought of Delta Force Command's decision. Maya Chen stood at attention near the door, her face neutral, but her jaw tight. She'd heard this before. She'd hear it again. Colonel Sarah Reeves didn't look up from the tactical map spread across the table. "I'm putting the best intelligence analyst in this theater on this mission, Captain. That happens to be Staff Sergeant Chen. With all due respect, ma'am, this is a direct action raid. We need shooters, not analysts." Colonel Reeves looked up now, her eyes sharp. "The target compound contains encrypted communications equipment, Russian-made, new generation. We've never seen this model before. Chen speaks Mandarin, Russian, Pashto, and she has a background in signals intelligence that your shooters don't have. If we can extract those devices intact and she can analyze them on site, we might get intel on the entire network before they realize we've hit them." Captain Wade's jaw worked. "She slows us down. I've passed every physical standard Delta requires," Maya said quietly. "Same course, same times, same ruck weights." Wade turned to her. "Standards aren't combat, Chen. When bullets start flying..." "She's going," Colonel Reeves said. The tone was final. "Mission brief in 30 minutes. Wheels up at 1800 hours. Dismissed." Captain Wade left without another word. Maya stayed. "Don't let him get to you," Colonel Reeves said, rolling up the map. "Wade's old school. He'll come around." "He won't, ma'am, and that's okay." Maya straightened her shoulders. "I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to do the job." Colonel Reeves studied her for a moment. "You know why I picked you for this unit, Chen?" "My language skills and technical background." "No." The colonel came around the table. "I picked you because 2 years ago in Mosul, you stayed behind in a collapsing building to pull encrypted hard drives from an ISIS command center while the rest of your team evacuated. You were alone for 11 minutes while that building came apart around you. You walked out with intel that led to 17 high-value targets. That's not just technical skill, Staff Sergeant. That's steel." Maya felt her chest tighten. She remembered Mosul, the smoke, the heat, the certainty that the ceiling would crush her before she finished the extraction. "I need that steel tonight. Colonel Reeves continued. This mission is bigger than Captain Wade knows. Those communication devices, they're not just for local Taliban networks. We think they're coordinating with a foreign actor, possibly Russian intelligence supporting insurgent operations. If we can crack those encryptions, we stop attacks that haven't even been planned yet. We save lives. I understand, ma'am. Do you? Colonel Reeves held her gaze. Because if something goes wrong tonight, if you're compromised, if you're captured, you'll be carrying knowledge that could get you killed in very ugly ways. They'll want what's in your head. Maya didn't blink. Then I won't let them take me alive. The colonel's expression softened slightly. Let's hope it doesn't come to that. Part 3. The mission. The Black Hawk flew low and fast through the mountain passes, its rotors beating the thin Afghan air. Maya sat between two Delta operators, men whose faces she'd seen in briefings but whose names she'd never learned. They didn't talk to her. They didn't need to. Captain Wade sat across from her, checking his rifle for the third time. He hadn't made eye contact since they boarded. The pilot's voice crackled through their headsets. 2 minutes to LZ. Maya checked her own weapon, an M4 carbine with a holographic sight, 6 magazines, a sidearm with 3 more. She'd trained with these weapons until they felt like extensions of her hands, but tonight, her real weapons were different. In her tactical vest, she carried a ruggedized laptop with decryption software, a portable signal interceptor USB drives with malware designed to clone encrypted systems, and something else. Something nobody knew about except Colonel Reeves, a small device, no bigger than a phone, tucked into a hidden pocket. A quantum decryption key, still experimental, capable of breaking modern military-grade encryptions in real time. It was worth more than everyone on this helicopter combined. The enemy couldn't know it existed. Her own team couldn't know she had it. If this mission went wrong, she was supposed to destroy it. 30 seconds! The helicopter flared hard, and they were on the ground, boots hitting dirt, moving in a tactical column toward the compound. A cluster of mud brick buildings nestled against a cliff face. Intel said 12 hostiles, maybe 15. Light resistance. Intel was wrong. The first RPG screamed past the helicopter just as it lifted off. The second one hit a perimeter wall and showered the team with debris. Contact! Contact front! Gunfire erupted from every direction. The light resistance was a platoon-strength force, dug in and waiting. They'd known the Americans were coming. "It's a trap!" someone shouted. "Fall back to secondary LZ!" But Maya was already moving toward the main building. Through the smoke and muzzle flashes, she saw it. The communications room, second floor, corner window. That's where the equipment would be. "Chen, where the hell are you going?" Captain Wade's voice in her ear. "Getting the intel." She sprinted across open ground as bullets snapped past her head, dove through a doorway and hit the stairs. Behind her, the firefight intensified. She could hear Wade cursing, ordering his men to cover her position. She reached the second floor. The hallway was dark, lit only by moonlight through broken windows. At the end, a door, locked. Maya kicked it, once, twice. On the third kick, it splintered open. The room was exactly as the briefing had described. 3 tables covered in equipment. Radios, laptops, satellite phones, all wired together in a makeshift network. And there, in the center, the Russian device. Matte black, no markings, antenna array still warm. She was pulling out her laptop when she heard the footsteps behind her. Maya spun, raised her rifle. The insurgent was faster. His AK barked 3 times. She felt the impacts against her plate carrier like hammer blows, knocking her backward into the table. The equipment crashed to the floor. She returned fire. The insurgent dropped. But the damage was done. Sparks flew from the Russian device. One of the bullets had hit it. The screen flickered and died. "No, no, no!" Maya scrambled forward, pulling cables, trying to find a power source. If the device's memory corrupted before she could clone it. Another explosion, closer. The building shook. "Chen, we're leaving, now!" Wade's voice, frantic. "I almost have it. We don't have time. The compound's wired to blow." She looked at the device. Dead. Useless. Unless... Maya reached into her hidden pocket and pulled out the quantum key. It was a massive risk, using experimental tech in the field, without proper testing, without authorization. But if it worked, she could pull the raw data directly from the device's memory before it degraded. She connected the key. The tiny screen lit up. Decryption in progress, 47%. Chen, 62%. The building shook again. Dust fell from the ceiling. 81% outside, she heard the Black Hawk returning, its rotors loud even over the gunfire. 94% complete. Data transferred. She yanked the device free, shoved it back into her pocket, grabbed one of the damaged radios for cover, and ran. The hallway was smoke and darkness. She couldn't see, couldn't breathe. She just ran toward where the stairs should be, her boots pounding wood, then dirt, then the world exploded. Part 4. Alone. Maya didn't know how long she lay there. Seconds, minutes. When her vision cleared, she was staring at stars through a gap in the rubble above her. She tried to remember. The explosion. Being thrown. Hitting the wall. The helicopter leaving. They left you. She keyed her radio. Dead. She checked her rifle. Empty magazines. She checked her sidearm. Same. And now, lying in the ruins with her ankle screaming and enemy voices growing closer, Maya Chen understood with perfect clarity. She was going to die here. Not in combat. Not in a heroic firefight. She was going to be captured, tortured for information, and executed. And the quantum decryption key, the device that could break every modern military encryption system, the device that enemies would kill thousands to possess, would fall into the wrong hands. She couldn't let that happen. Maya pulled herself into a sitting position, back against the wall. Her hands were shaking, from adrenaline, from blood loss, from fear. She wasn't supposed to be afraid. Delta operators didn't feel fear, except she did. She felt it like ice water in her veins. She pulled out the quantum key. Such a small thing. It fit in her palm. Destroy it. That was the protocol. Don't let it be captured. But if she destroyed it, the mission failed. All that data, coordinates, communications, networks would be lost. People would die because she couldn't get the intel out. The voices were closer now. Flashlight beams cut through the dust. Maya made a decision. She opened her medical kit, pulled out the small first aid scissors, and cut a slit in the inner lining of her tactical vest. She pushed the quantum key deep inside the padding, then stitched it closed with the suture kit meant for field wounds. Her hands moved on autopilot, years of training taking over while her mind raced. If they captured her, they'd search her. They'd find her weapons, her gear, her tactical equipment. But they wouldn't find a device hidden inside the vest's padding. Not immediately. And if she could stay alive long enough, stay conscious long enough, maybe... There! The flashlight beam hit her face. Men shouted. Boots ran toward her. Maya closed her eyes. Survive. Just survive. Part 5. The interrogation. The room was dark and cold. Maya's wrists were zip-tied behind her back, her vest and equipment piled in the corner. They'd taken everything, her weapons, her radio, her laptop, even her dog tags. But they hadn't cut open her vest. Not yet. The door opened. A man entered, middle-aged, clean-shaven, wearing a mix of tactical gear and civilian clothes. He spoke English with a Russian accent. Staff Sergeant Maya Chen, Delta Force, assigned to Signal Intelligence, born in San Francisco, graduated MIT, speaks 6 languages. He sat down across from her. You're far from home. She said nothing. Your team left you. Interesting, yes? They assumed you were dead. Or perhaps... He smiled. Perhaps they hoped you were dead. Easier that way. One less woman complicating their operations. Maya's expression didn't change, but inside something cold settled in her chest. They'd profiled her. They knew about the tensions in her unit. They were going to use that. You came for the communications equipment, the man continued. Too bad. It's destroyed. Useless. So you failed your mission, you were abandoned by your team, and now you're here, with me. Silence. He leaned forward. But maybe we can help each other. You give me information, names, operational details, nothing too sensitive, and I make sure you're treated well. Medical attention, food. Eventually prisoner exchange. You go home. Yes? No, Maya said. No? Geneva Convention. I give you my name, rank, and service number. That's all. The man laughed. Geneva Convention. Do you see Red Cross observers here? Do you see cameras, lawyers, oversight? He stood. This valley is 60 kilometers from the nearest coalition base. Nobody knows you're alive. Your own team thinks you're dead. So I ask you again, help me, or this becomes very unpleasant. Maya met his eyes. I've been through SEER school. Survival, evasion, resistance, escape. I know what you're going to do, and I know I won't break. So let's skip the part where you pretend to be my friend. Something flickered across his face. Surprise, maybe respect. Then it hardened. Very well. We do this the difficult way. Part 6. 72 hours. They didn't torture her the way movies showed. No waterboarding, no electric shocks, just constant grinding misery designed to break her mind before her body. They kept her in stress positions for hours, standing with arms raised, squatting against walls until her legs screamed. They blasted music and white noise to prevent sleep. They took her to the edge of hypothermia with ice water, then heated the room until she couldn't breathe. And between each session, they asked questions. Who authorized this mission? Name, rank, service number. What were you looking for in the communications room? Name, rank, service number. What encryption systems does Delta Force use? Name, rank, service number. The Russian, she learned his name was Volkov, grew frustrated. On the third day, he changed tactics. I want to show you something. He opened a laptop and turned it toward her. The screen showed aerial footage of a convoy, American vehicles, moving through a mountain pass. This footage is from 2 days ago, Volkov said. See that lead vehicle? That's a special operations unit. Rangers, I believe. They're moving to a new forward operating base. Maya's blood went cold. Tomorrow, they will drive through a valley we control. We've placed IEDs along the entire route. 16 devices. The entire convoy will be destroyed. 43 Americans will die. He leaned forward. Unless you tell me what I want to know. Tell me about your signals intelligence operations, and I will call off the ambush. 43 lives, Staff Sergeant. That's what your silence costs. Maya stared at the screen. She could see the faces of the soldiers in the convoy. Young, some probably on their first deployment. She thought about Mosul, about staying in that collapsing building to grab intel that saved lives. She thought about why she'd joined the military, to protect people, to make a difference. 43 soldiers. Her silence would kill them. Clock is ticking, Volkov said softly. Tell me what I want to know. Save them. Maya closed her eyes. When she opened them, her voice was steady. You're lying. If you had that convoy's route, you wouldn't need my intel. You just hit them. This is psychological manipulation. You're showing me footage to break me with guilt. Volkov's expression darkened. You're willing to bet their lives on that? I'm willing to bet you're a liar. He slammed the laptop shut. Get her out of my sight. They dragged her back to the cell, threw her inside. She lay on the cold stone floor, shaking, praying she'd made the right call. Please let it be a lie. Please let it be a lie. Part 7. The breakthrough. On the 4th day, they brought her food, actual food, rice, bread, tea, and they let her sleep for 4 hours. Maya knew what it meant. They were switching to kindness, trying to make her grateful, build false rapport. Classic interrogation technique. But she was too tired to care. She ate, she slept. And when she woke, her mind was clearer than it had been in days. Think. You're an intelligence analyst. Analyze. She looked around the cell. Stone walls, heavy door, one small window, too high to reach. They'd left her tactical vest in the corner, emptied of all gear, just the fabric shell. The vest they hadn't cut open. The quantum key was still there. But it was useless without a way to transmit the data. She had no computer, no radio, no... Wait. She sat up slowly. The overhead light. A simple bulb, but connected to wiring that ran through the ceiling. And where there was wiring for lights, there was wiring for communications. This compound had been a Taliban operations center. They had power. They had internet. If she could access that network, Maya looked at her vest, then at the light fixture, then at the thin metal tray they'd brought her food on. You're insane. This won't work. But she had to try. She spent the next hour preparing. Using the metal tray's edge, she carefully extracted the quantum key from the vest's lining. Then she fashioned a wire from threads pulled from her uniform, twisted together for conductivity. She stood on the food tray, barely stable, and reached for the light fixture. Her fingers brushed the base. She twisted, unscrewed it. The wiring inside was crude, but it was there. Power cable, data cable. Come on, come on. She connected the quantum key to the data line using her makeshift wire. The device flickered to life. Its screen showed a single word: searching. Then, network found, Taliban Mesh 06. Encryption, AES 256 decrypting. Access granted. Maya almost fell off the tray. She'd done it. She was inside their network, but she had no keyboard, no way to send a message. The quantum key wasn't designed for communication. It was designed for decryption, unless... She navigated through the device's diagnostic menu, found the emergency beacon protocol. It was meant to send a distress signal if the device was captured, broadcasting its location to U.S. military satellites. But she could modify it, send a data packet instead of a location ping. Her fingers moved across the tiny screen, typing with agonizing slowness. She compressed all the intel she'd gathered, everything from the Russian communications device, coordinates, names, operational details, into a single encrypted burst. Then she added a message: Shadow 4 alive, grid 34.5612N 69.4421E, prisoner, high-value intel attached, request extraction, Chen. She hit send. The quantum key beeped once. Message transmitted. Maya disconnected the device, hid it back in her vest, and reassembled the light fixture. She was back on the floor, trying to look exhausted and defeated, when the guards opened the door. Now she just had to survive long enough for someone to receive her message. Part 8. The decision. At Forward Operating Base Chapman, 700 miles away, Captain Marcus Wade stood in front of Colonel Sarah Reeves's desk, his face pale. Say that again, ma'am. Staff Sergeant Chen is alive. She transmitted this signal 6 hours ago. The colonel turned her computer screen toward him. Wade read the message, then the attached intelligence file. His expression changed from shock to disbelief to something else entirely. This is the entire network, not just the local Taliban cell. This is Russian coordination, funding routes, planned attacks for the next 6 months. How the hell did she... That's not the question right now, Colonel Reeves said. The question is, do we go get her? Wade looked up sharply. Of course we go get her. She's one of ours. It's not that simple. The colonel pulled up a satellite image showing the compound where Maya was held. She's in a stronghold, heavy fortifications, estimated 50 hostiles, possibly more. The terrain makes helicopter insertion suicide. We'd need a full battalion to crack that position. Then we get a battalion. Central Command says no. The risk is too high. The political situation is delicate. One failed rescue operation this close to the elections back home, and it becomes an international incident. Wade's jaw clenched. So we just leave her? CENTCOM's position is that Staff Sergeant Chen completed her mission. She got us the intel. That has to be enough. Has to be. Wade stopped himself, breathing hard. Ma'am, with all due respect, that's bullshit. We don't leave people behind. That's not who we are. Colonel Reeves stood. I agree with you, Captain. Which is why I'm asking you. Can a small team do this? Small team? Your operators. 8 men. Fast insertion. Hit the compound before they know what's happening. Extract Chen. Exfil before reinforcements arrive. Wade studied the satellite image. Calculated angles, distances, kill zones. It's a suicide mission. Is it possible? Long pause. Maybe, if we had perfect intel on their positions, guard rotations, interior layout. Chen gave us that. Colonel Reeves pulled up another file. Look at this. Before she was captured, she tagged her location on the signal interceptor. That device has been recording radio traffic from the compound for 4 days. We know their numbers. We know their schedules. We know where she's being held. Wade's expression changed. She gave us the blueprint. She gave us the blueprint. But why? She completed the mission. She could have just waited for prisoner exchange. Because she knows what happens if they figure out what she's carrying. Colonel Reeves pointed to a classified addendum in the file. The quantum decryption key. If enemy forces acquire that device and reverse engineer it, every military encryption system in the world becomes vulnerable. We'd have to rebuild our entire communications infrastructure. The strategic advantage we've held for 20 years would evaporate overnight. Wade felt his stomach drop. Jesus Christ. She's been carrying that this whole time? And she's kept it hidden, even under interrogation. So I'm asking you again, Captain, can you get her out? Wade looked at the map, at the faces of his team members and the photos on the wall, at the tactical nightmare of what Colonel Reeves was proposing. Then he thought about Maya Chen, about how he'd doubted her, dismissed her, wanted her off his team, about how she'd stayed behind to complete the mission while he'd evacuated, about how she'd been tortured for 4 days and never broken. Yeah, he said quietly. We can get her out. Good, because your wheel's up in 2 hours. Part 9. The Rescue. They came at dawn. The first sign was the sound, a sound Maya had trained her whole life to recognize. Helicopter rotors, low and fast. American rotors. She was standing at the window watching the sun rise over the mountains when the compound exploded. Not an actual explosion, a flashbang, then another. Then the distinctive crack of M4 rifles, controlled bursts, precise shots. The door to her cell flew open. A guard rushed in, shouting in Pashto, raising his AK. The top of his head disappeared in a spray of red. Behind him, a figure in tactical gear, night vision pushed up, face covered. Chen? She recognized the voice. Wade. Time to go. Can you walk? My ankles. Not what I asked. Can you walk? She nodded. He pulled her to her feet, thrust a pistol into her hands. Stay behind me. Move when I move. Stop when I stop. Got it? Got it. They moved into the hallway. The compound was chaos, smoke, gunfire, shouting. Delta operators moved through the space like ghosts, clearing rooms with brutal efficiency. North corridor clear. 2 hostiles, 2nd floor. Package is mobile, moving to extraction. Wade pushed Maya toward a blown-out wall. Outside, in the courtyard, she could see the Black Hawk hovering, its gunner laying down, suppressing fire. 50 meters. They sprinted. Bullets kicked up dirt around them. Someone screamed, RPG! And Wade tackled her behind a concrete barrier just as the rocket scream passed. 20 meters. Her ankle gave out. She stumbled. Wade caught her, half carrying her forward. 10 meters. The Black Hawk's crew chief was reaching down, shouting something Maya couldn't hear over the rotor wash. 5 meters. Volkov appeared from behind a burning vehicle, AK raised, finger on the trigger. Maya's pistol came up on instinct. 2 shots. Center mass. Volkov dropped. She didn't feel triumph. Didn't feel anything. Just moved. Wade threw her into the helicopter, jumped in after her. Go, go, go! The Black Hawk lifted, banking hard, bullets sparking off its armor. Maya lay on the floor, gasping, her heart hammering so hard she thought it would break through her ribs. Someone was wrapping a tourniquet around her leg. Someone else was checking her for injuries. Voices overlapped. Radio chatter. But she couldn't focus on any of it. She just stared at Captain Wade, who was sitting across from her, his face streaked with dirt and blood. Why? She managed. Why did you come back? Wade pulled off his helmet. His expression was hard to read. Because you're one of us, he said simply. We don't leave our people behind. Part 10. The Truth. The debriefing lasted 3 days. Maya sat in a secure room at Bagram Airfield, answering questions from intelligence officers, military lawyers, and people in suits who never gave their names. She told them everything. The mission, the capture, the interrogation, the quantum key. When she pulled out the device, still hidden in her vest, still intact, the room went silent. You kept this hidden for 4 days? A woman from the CIA leaned forward. Under interrogation? Yes, ma'am. How? I just did. They didn't understand. How could they? They'd never been in that cell, Never felt that cold, never faced Volkov's questions with the knowledge that one wrong answer would doom thousands. They processed the data from the quantum key. The intelligence windfall was beyond anything Central Command had hoped for. The network unraveled like a pulled thread. Arrests, raids, disrupted operations. Attacks that would have killed hundreds were stopped before they started. One analyst estimated the intel prevented over 2,000 casualties in the following year. All because Maya Chen refused to break. On the fourth day, they let her rest. She sat in the medical tent, her ankle in a cast, staring at nothing. Physically, she was fine. A few bruises, some dehydration, the ankle fracture. Nothing permanent. But sleep didn't come easy. When she closed her eyes, she was back in that cell, back in the dark. "Hey." She looked up. Captain Wade stood in the doorway, looking uncomfortable. "Can I come in?" "It's not my tent." He sat down anyway. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. "I owe you an apology," Wade said finally. "You came back for me. I think that counts." "No, I mean before. I didn't want you on my team. I thought you'd be a liability." He met her eyes. "I was wrong." Maya didn't know what to say. "You saved lives," Wade continued. "Not just the intel you gathered. The way you handled yourself under pressure, under torture. That's what we ask of the best operators. And you didn't just meet that standard. You exceeded it." "I was scared the whole time," Maya admitted quietly. "Good. Fear keeps you sharp. The operators who aren't scared are the ones who get killed." He stood. "Colonel Reeves wanted me to tell you something. The Quantum Key program, it's been approved for full deployment because of what you proved it could do. And you're being put in charge of training the next generation of signals intelligence operators." Maya blinked. What? "You're going stateside, Fort Bragg, teaching the analysts who will use these systems how to survive if things go wrong, how to think under pressure, how to not break." "I don't know if I can teach that." "You don't have to teach it. You just have to be you." Wade extended his hand. "Welcome to the team, Chen. For real this time." She shook his hand, and for the first time in days, she felt something other than fear and exhaustion. She felt pride. Part 11. 6 months later. Fort Bragg, North Carolina. Maya stood in front of a classroom of 20 military intelligence analysts. Men and women, all branches, all specialties. They watched her with a mix of curiosity and skepticism. She knew that look. She'd worn it herself once. "My name is Staff Sergeant Maya Chen," she began. 6 months ago, I was left behind in hostile territory with no ammunition, no radio, and a broken ankle. I was captured, interrogated, and written off as dead by my own command." She paused. "But I survived. And the intel I brought back prevented an attack that would have killed 2,000 coalition soldiers and civilians. Not because I'm special, not because I'm tougher than you, but because I understood 3 things." She wrote on the board. 1. Knowledge is a weapon. When I lost my rifle and ammo, I still had the most powerful weapon in the world, information. I knew things the enemy didn't. I knew how to use technology they'd never seen. I knew how to think, when thinking was the only option left. 2. Never assume you're alone. Even when my team left, even when I thought I'd been abandoned, I wasn't alone. I had training. I had protocols. I had people back here who were working to find me. Your job isn't to be a hero. Your job is to stay alive long enough for your team to get you home. 3. The mission matters more than you. I could have destroyed the quantum key to prevent capture. Protocol said I should. But I knew that device could save lives if I could keep it hidden. So I took the risk. Sometimes the right decision is the hardest one." She turned back to the class. "You're intelligence analysts. You'll never be on recruiting posters. You'll never get the glory that shooters get. But you will do something more important. You'll be the reason missions succeed. You'll be the reason soldiers come home. You'll be the weapon they didn't see coming." A hand went up. A young corporal, barely 20. "Staff Sergeant, what if I'm not strong enough? What if I break under interrogation?" Maya smiled. "Everyone thinks they'll break. Everyone thinks they're not strong enough. I thought that too, every single day in that cell. But strength isn't about never being afraid. It's about being afraid and doing the job anyway. She picked up a small device from her desk. The quantum decryption key. They'd given her the original as a keepsake. This little thing changed the war, not because it's magic, but because I refused to let it fall into the wrong hands. That's all. I just refused. She held it up so everyone could see. So when your moment comes, and it will come, I want you to remember something. You are not your weapons. You are not your rank or your training or your physical strength. You are your mind, your will, your refusal to quit. She placed the device back on the desk. Now let's get to work. We've got a lot to cover, and somewhere out there, someone's life depends on you being ready. Epilogue. 2 years later. The Pentagon, Washington, D.C. Maya Chen stood at attention in her dress uniform. The ribbon rack on her chest was heavier now. Bronze Star with Valor, Purple Heart, Defense Intelligence Agency Exceptional Intelligence Service Medal. But the one she was receiving today was different. Secretary of Defense Margaret Holland stood before her holding a small case. Staff Sergeant Chen, she began, her voice carrying through the chamber. On behalf of the President of the United States and a grateful nation, it is my honor to present you with the Silver Star for gallantry in action against an enemy of the United States. She opened the case. The medal gleamed. Your actions on that day, maintaining mission focus despite overwhelming odds, protecting classified material under torture, and transmitting intelligence that prevented thousands of casualties, represent the highest traditions of military service. You are a credit to your unit, your service, and your country. She pinned the medal to Maya's uniform. We are honored to have you among our ranks. The audience, generals, politicians, family members, rose in applause. Maya stood perfectly still, feeling the weight of the medal, remembering the weight of the quantum key, the weight of 4 days in that cell, the weight of choosing to survive when survival seemed impossible. Later, at the reception, a young woman approached her, Army uniform, First Lieutenant's bars, Intelligence Branch insignia. Ma'am, I just wanted to say thank you. I was one of the soldiers in that convoy, the one that would have been hit by IEDs if you hadn't transmitted that intel. 43 of us. We're all alive because of you. Maya felt her throat tighten. What's your name? Lieutenant Sarah Martinez. Are you still serving, Lieutenant? Yes, ma'am. Actually, I just got accepted to Delta Force selection. Because of you. Because you showed me that intelligence officers can be operators too. Maya smiled. You're going to do great things, Lieutenant. I hope so, ma'am. I hope I can be even half as brave as you were. You will be. When it matters, you will be. The lieutenant saluted and moved away. Captain Wade, now Major Wade, appeared at Maya's elbow, carrying 2 glasses of champagne. Still making converts, I see. Someone has to inspire the next generation. She accepted the glass. How's the team? Good. We got 3 new analysts assigned. They all requested the slot specifically because they wanted to work with the woman who changed the war. He shook his head. You're famous now, Chen. How does it feel? Weird. I still feel like that scared kid lying in the rubble with no ammo. You should. That's who you were. But you're also the analyst who refused to quit. Both can be true. They stood in silence for a moment, watching the crowd. Do you ever think about that night? Maya asked quietly. When you left me behind? Wade's expression darkened. Every day. We thought you were on the bird. By the time we realized you weren't, we were already in the air. I wanted to turn around immediately, but you would have lost more people. I know. I never blamed you for that. I blamed myself. Still do. He looked at her. But you know what? You did something none of us could have done. You survived. You completed the mission. And you called for extraction instead of waiting for a rescue that might never come. That's not just luck, Chen. That's skill. Maya thought about the quantum key, about the message she'd sent, about the choice to fight instead of giving up. It was the only option, she said. That's what operators do. We find the only option and we take it, no matter how impossible it seems. He raised his glass. Two impossible options. Two impossible options. They drank. Part 12. The Legacy 5 years later. Fort Bragg, North Carolina. The military intelligence training facility had a new building, modern, equipped with the latest technology. And above the entrance, carved in stone, the Chen Center for Advanced Signals Intelligence. Major Maya Chen stood in front of it on the dedication day, feeling surreal. Buildings weren't named after living people in the military, not usually. But they'd made an exception. Because the quantum decryption program she'd protected had revolutionized military intelligence. Because the training methods she'd developed had saved lives in 12 combat zones. Because her story had inspired thousands of soldiers to push beyond what they thought possible. Colonel Sarah Reeves, now Brigadier General Reeves, stood beside her. "Congratulations, Major. You've earned this." "I just did my job, ma'am." "No, you did everyone's job. Analyst, operator, survivor, teacher. You showed the world that intelligence work isn't sitting in a safe bunker analyzing data. It's being in the field, taking risks, making impossible decisions." A group of students passed by, the new class of signals intelligence analysts. They snapped to attention when they saw Maya. "As you were," she said. They relaxed but didn't leave. One of them, a sergeant, stepped forward. "Ma'am, permission to ask a question?" "Granted. Is it true, the story about you being left behind with no ammo, that it really happened like they say?" Maya hesitated. The story had grown over the years. Some versions made her sound superhuman. Others made it sound like luck. "It happened," she said. "But not the way you think. I wasn't brave. I was terrified. I didn't have some grand plan. I just kept making decisions, one after another, trying to survive one more minute, then one more hour, then one more day. But you didn't break. I almost did, a dozen times. But I kept thinking about all the people who would die if I failed, and that was enough." The sergeant nodded slowly. "That's what we want to be, ma'am, like you. Then don't try to be like me. Be better. Learn from what I did wrong. Find better options when you're in impossible situations. That's how we improve, each generation getting a little bit better than the last." The students saluted and moved on. General Reeves smiled. "You're good at this, teaching. I had good teachers. Will you stay? Keep running the program?" Maya looked at the building with her name on it, at the students' learning skills that would keep them alive, at the legacy she'd somehow built from one night of terror and survival. "Yeah," she said. "I'll stay. This is where I can do the most good." Good, because we're expanding the program. Not just signals intelligence anymore. We're creating a comprehensive course on survival and evasion for all intelligence personnel. You'll be designing the curriculum. All of it? All of it. Budget's approved. Staff's approved. You'll have whatever you need. General Reeves paused. "The Joint Chiefs have been paying attention, Maya. They've seen what happens when we train intelligence personnel not just to analyze data, but to operate in the field, to survive when things go wrong. They want that across all branches." Maya felt the weight of it, the responsibility. "I won't let them down, ma'am." "I know you won't. You never have." Part 13. Full circle. 10 years later. Kabul, Afghanistan. The war was officially over. U.S. forces had withdrawn, but specialized teams remained, training local forces, providing support, ensuring stability. Lieutenant Colonel Maya Chen stepped off the helicopter at Bagram Airfield, now a joint coalition training facility. The landscape was familiar, yet different, less destroyed, more hopeful. She was here as an advisor, helping the Afghan National Intelligence Agency build their own signals intelligence program, teaching them what she'd learned so they could protect their own people. A young Afghan woman met her at the airfield, Captain Fatima Ahmadi, lead intelligence officer for the northern region. "Colonel Chen, it's an honor." "The honor is mine, Captain. I've read your reports. You've built an impressive program here." "We learned from the best." Captain Ahmadi smiled. "Your training methods, your protocols, they're legendary." They walked through the base. Maya saw analysts working, computers humming, the same organized chaos she remembered from her own early days. "I wanted to show you something," Captain Ahmadi said. She led Maya to a memorial wall, names carved in stone. These are intelligence officers who died in the line of duty. Afghan, American, coalition forces. We honor them all here. Maya read the names. Some she recognized. Friends, colleagues, people who'd paid the ultimate price. And here, Captain Amati pointed to an inscription at the bottom, left behind with no ammo, but never without hope. Dedicated to all intelligence personnel who refused to quit. Maya's breath caught. Your story saved lives here too, Captain Amati said quietly. When our officers are captured, when situations become impossible, we tell them about you, about the woman who survived with nothing but her mind and her will. It gives them strength. I didn't know, Maya managed. How could you? You changed the war, Colonel, not just with the intelligence you gathered, but with the example you set. You showed us that we don't have to be the biggest or the strongest. We just have to be smart enough and stubborn enough to never give up. Maya touched the inscription. 10 years ago she'd been lying in rubble, convinced she would die. Now her story was carved in stone, inspiring a new generation. Captain Amati, can I ask you something? Of course. Why did you join intelligence? It's dangerous work, especially here. The captain's expression grew serious. I was 15 when the Taliban controlled my village. They executed my father because he taught girls to read. I swore that day I would fight them, not with guns, but with information. Knowledge is power, Colonel. You taught us that. Maya felt tears sting her eyes. This was why it mattered. This was why she'd survived, why she'd endured, why she'd refused to break. Not for medals, not for recognition. For this, for Captain Amati and the hundreds like her fighting for a better future. Your father would be proud, Maya said. So would yours. They stood together in silence, two intelligence officers from different worlds, united by the belief that information could change wars, save lives, and build hope from desperation. Part 14, The Letter. 2 weeks later, Maya sat in her quarters at Bagram, writing an email. Not a report, not an intelligence assessment. A letter. To all intelligence personnel, U.S. Armed Forces from LTC Maya Chen. Subject, what they didn't tell you. I'm writing this from Afghanistan, 10 years after the night that defined my career. Many of you know the story, how I was left behind with no ammunition, how I survived interrogation, how I transmitted intelligence that changed the war. But what they don't tell you in the training courses and leadership seminars is this. I was terrified. I cried. I doubted myself. I wanted to give up more times than I can count. The difference wasn't strength or courage. It was stubbornness. I was too stubborn to let the enemy win. Too stubborn to let my team's sacrifice be for nothing. Too stubborn to die in that cell without fighting back with every tool I had, even when those tools were just my mind and my will to survive. If you take anything from my story, let it be this. You don't have to be fearless. You just have to be unwilling to quit. Every one of you has capabilities the enemy doesn't expect. You can speak languages they think Americans don't know. You can operate technology they've never seen. You can think your way out of situations where fighting isn't an option. That makes you dangerous. That makes you valuable. That makes you exactly what we need. So when your moment comes, and it will come, remember, being left behind doesn't mean being defeated. Having no ammunition doesn't mean having no weapons. And being afraid doesn't mean being weak. It means being human. And humans are capable of extraordinary things when we refuse to accept the impossible. Stay safe, stay smart, and never, ever quit. Maya. She sent it. Within hours, responses flooded in. Hundreds, thousands. From analysts and operators around the world, thanking her, sharing their own stories, asking for advice. Major Wade, now Lieutenant Colonel Wade, called her. Did you really just send a mass email to the entire intelligence community? Yes. Problem? Problem? You just became everyone's favorite officer. Half the sergeants at Bragg want to print it and hang it in their team rooms. Maya laughed. That wasn't the goal. I know. That's why it worked. He paused. You really should write a book, Chen. Nobody would believe it. Try me. Part 15. The Book. 2 years later, the book was published. Left Behind, an intelligence officer's survival against all odds. It wasn't classified. Everything sensitive had been redacted, but the core story remained: the mission, the capture, the survival, the choice to keep fighting when fighting seemed impossible. It became a bestseller, not just in military circles, but among civilians too. People who'd never served, who'd never faced combat, found inspiration in Maya's refusal to give up. She did interviews, podcasts, speaking tours at universities. Everyone asked the same questions. How did you stay sane during interrogation? What kept you from giving up? Would you do it again? Her answer was always the same. I didn't stay sane, I barely survived, and I pray I never have to do it again. But if I did, I'd make the same choices. Because the mission matters more than fear. At one university, her alma mater, MIT, a student asked a different question. Colonel Chen, do you think your gender made the situation harder? Did you face extra scrutiny or discrimination? Maya considered the question carefully. Yes and no. Did some people doubt me because I'm a woman? Absolutely. Captain Wade didn't want me on his team. Other operators questioned whether I could handle combat stress. But here's the thing. Those doubts pushed me to be better, to prove them wrong, to show that capability isn't about gender. It's about skill, determination, and the refusal to quit. She paused. But I won't lie. Being a woman in special operations comes with challenges. You're always under a microscope. One mistake gets magnified. You have to work twice as hard to be seen as half as good. But you know what? That's changing. Every woman who succeeds in these units makes it easier for the next one. We're not breaking down doors anymore. We're walking through them. And the men who matter, like Wade, judge you by your performance, not your chromosomes. The auditorium erupted in applause. Part 16. The Reunion. 5 years after the book's publication, Maya received an invitation. A reunion. Delta Force operators, past and present. Fort Bragg. Black tie optional. She almost didn't go. These events made her uncomfortable. All the attention, the questions, the people wanting selfies with the woman from the book. But Wade convinced her. Come on, Chen. Half the team wants to meet you. The new recruits think you're a myth. I hate being a myth. Then show them you're real. Have a drink, tell some stories, remind everyone that heroes are just people who made hard choices. So she went. The event was at the Officers Club, decorated with unit insignias and photos from 2 decades of operations. Maya stood near the bar, nursing a whiskey, when a young sergeant approached. Excuse me, ma'am. Are you Colonel Chen? Retired now, but yes. I just wanted to say, I was there. I was one of the Rangers in that convoy, the one you saved by transmitting that intel. Maya set down her drink. You were? Yes, ma'am. I was 19. First deployment. Scared out of my mind. If those IEDs had gone off. He shook his head. 16 devices along that route. They would have wiped us out. But we didn't even know. We drove right through that valley, completely safe, because you'd given up their positions. I didn't save you, Maya said. The analysts who processed the intel did. The operators who neutralized the bombs did. I just sent a message. With respect, ma'am, that message was everything. He extended his hand. Thank you for not giving up. For fighting when you had no ammunition. For thinking when thinking was all you had left. She shook his hand, feeling the weight of it. 31 now, he'd been 19 then. He'd built a life, probably had a family, career, dreams, all because of a message she'd sent from a dark cell in a hostile compound. This was real. Not medals or books or speeches. This. A handshake from someone who lived because she refused to quit. You're welcome, she whispered. Epilogue, 20 years later. Washington, D.C., the Pentagon. Brigadier General Maya Chen stood in the Joint Chiefs briefing room, surrounded by the highest-ranking military officers in the nation. She was 54 now, gray hair cropped short, 3 stars on her shoulders. The chairman of the Joint Chiefs, General Marcus Thompson, addressed the room. The intelligence doctrine we've operated under for 20 years is outdated. We've been treating analysts as support personnel, keeping them safe in bunkers while operators take risks. But warfare has evolved. The next conflict won't be one with bullets. It'll be one with information. He nodded to Maya. General Chen has developed a new paradigm. Intelligence personnel who can operate in hostile environments. Analysts who can survive, adapt, and transmit critical data when traditional communications are compromised. We're calling it the Chen Doctrine. Maya stood, activated the presentation. The Chen Doctrine is built on 3 principles. First, every intelligence analyst is a potential operator. We train them not just in data analysis, but in survival, evasion, resistance, and escape. We teach them to think like operators because that's what they need to be. Second, technology is a force multiplier, but the human mind is the ultimate weapon. We invest in cutting-edge systems, but we invest more in the people who use them. Because when those systems fail, and they will fail, the analyst's ability to think, adapt, and innovate is what saves lives. Third, no one gets left behind, not in body, not in spirit, not in mission. Every intelligence operation includes contingencies for personnel recovery. We plan for the worst-case scenario because assuming best-case scenarios gets people killed. She looked around the room. 20 years ago, I was left behind in Afghanistan with no ammunition and no hope of rescue. I survived because I refused to accept defeat. The Chen Doctrine ensures that future intelligence personnel won't have to make that choice. They'll have the training, the tools, and the support to survive any situation. General Thompson stood. The Joint Chiefs have approved full implementation. All branches will adopt these protocols within 18 months. General Chen, you have operational authority to oversee the transition. Later, in her office, Maya sat alone, looking at the photos on her wall. Her team from that night 20 years ago. Most were retired now. A few had died, not in combat, but from age, accidents, the normal tragedies of life. Captain Wade, now Major General Wade, retired, had sent her a message that morning. Congratulations on the doctrine approval. You've officially changed how the military thinks about intelligence work. Not bad for the analyst I didn't want on my team. Wade. She smiled, typed a response. Not bad for the operator who came back for me. Chen. A knock on her door. Her aide, Captain James Harrison. Ma'am, there's someone here to see you. Says it's important. Who? She wouldn't give her name. Just said you'd want to meet her. Curious, Maya stood. In the waiting room, a young woman in civilian clothes stood nervously. Mid-20s, Middle Eastern features, intelligent eyes. General Chen? Yes? My name is Amira Ahmadi. My mother was Captain Fatima Ahmadi, Afghan National Intelligence. You trained her 15 years ago. Maya's heart clenched. Was? She died 3 years ago. Taliban attack. But before she died, she made me promise something. Amira pulled out a worn photo, young Maya and Fatima standing in front of the memorial wall at Bagram. She made me promise that if I ever wanted to serve, I would find you, learn from you, continue the work she started. Maya took the photo, her hands trembling slightly. I'm applying to West Point, Amira continued. I want to be an intelligence officer, like my mother, like you. I want to show people that knowledge is power, that women can be warriors, that being left behind doesn't mean being defeated. Maya looked at this young woman, this next generation, and saw herself 20 years ago. Scared but determined, uncertain but unwavering. Your mother was one of the bravest people I've ever met, Maya said. If you have even half her courage, you'll do extraordinary things. Will you write me a recommendation letter for West Point? I'll do better than that. Maya handed back the photo. I'll be your mentor. If you're serious about this path, I'll make sure you're ready for it. All of it. The good, the bad, and the terrifying. Amira's eyes shone. I'm serious, ma'am. I promise. Then let's get started. We have a lot of work to do. Final words. 25 years after that night in Afghanistan, Maya Chen retired from military service. There was a ceremony at Fort Bragg. Speeches, awards, a statue unveiled outside the Chen Center. Bronze figure of a soldier with no weapon, just determination in her eyes. But Maya's real legacy wasn't bronze or stone. It was the thousands of intelligence personnel trained in her methods. It was the Chen Doctrine, now standard across all NATO forces. It was Captain Amira Ahmadi, now a major, running her own signals intelligence team in the Middle East. It was the message, carved in stone at a dozen military installations around the world. Left behind with no ammo, but never without hope. Maya stood at the ceremony, looking at all of it, and realized something fundamental. She'd been wrong that night 20 years ago. She hadn't been left behind, left. She'd been exactly where she needed to be, doing exactly what needed to be done, to change not just one war, but the entire way the military thought about intelligence, survival, and the power of refusing to quit. In her retirement speech, she said, "I'm often asked what it felt like to be left behind with no ammunition. People expect me to say it was terrifying, traumatic, the worst moment of my life. And it was all those things. But it was also the most important moment of my life. Because in that moment, I learned what I was really made of. Not steel, not courage, but stubbornness. Pure, unrelenting stubbornness. The refusal to let the enemy win. The refusal to let my team's sacrifice be meaningless. The refusal to die without a fight, even when fighting meant thinking instead of shooting. That's what I want my legacy to be. Not the medals or the doctrine or the statue, but the message that reaches every service member who faces their own impossible moment. You are never without weapons. You are never without hope. You are never truly alone. Because every single person who came before you, who survived when survival seemed impossible, who chose to fight when fighting seemed futile, they're with you. Their strength is your strength. Their refusal to quit is your refusal to quit. So when your moment comes, remember, having no ammunition just means choosing a different weapon. Being left behind just means fighting your way forward alone. And facing the impossible just means refusing to accept it. That's how wars are won. Not with bullets, but with the human spirit that refuses to be broken. Thank you for the honor of serving with you. Now go out there and prove that impossible is just a word. The crowd rose, applauded, cheered, and Maya Chen, retired general, walked off the stage and into the rest of her life, knowing that somewhere, in some dark place, someone was facing their own impossible moment. And because of her story, they wouldn't give up. They'd fight. They'd think. They'd survive. And 25 years from now, they'd stand where she was standing, passing that torch to the next generation. Because that's what warriors do. They refuse to let the fight end with them. The end.